It was a quiet evening at the Burrow. The house, usually full of chatter and energy, now hummed with the peaceful atmosphere of a post-dinner lull. The last of the plates had been cleared away, and most of the Weasley family had retreated to their rooms, leaving Harry and Ginny alone by the fire. Ginny was curled up on the couch, her legs tucked beneath her, a book resting in her lap. The golden light from the fireplace danced on her freckled skin, making her hair glow in the low light. Harry sat beside her, his legs stretched out in front of him, staring into the flames, but not really seeing them. He had been quiet for most of the evening, and Ginny noticed. It wasn't like Harry to be so lost in thought, especially when he was with her. She set her book aside and turned toward him, her gaze soft. "Hey," she said gently, reaching out to brush her fingers across his hand. "What's on your mind?" Harry looked up, startled from his thoughts, and smiled faintly. He felt a warmth spread through him just from the touch of her hand. "Just thinking about everything, I suppose," he replied, his voice a little distant but honest. "It's hard to believe that everything's finally settled." Ginny nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. The war was over, and so much had changed in such a short time. The world had been torn apart, and now they were trying to piece it all back together, trying to make sense of a life they'd almost lost. Ginny shifted, moving closer to him, her hand resting on his arm. "It is hard to believe, isn't it? But we're here together, and things are getting better every day. You've earned some peace, Harry." Harry smiled, but there was still a weight in his eyes. Ginny knew better than anyone that he often carried the burden of the past with him. She wanted to remind him that he wasn't alone anymore, that he had her. "I know I have you," he murmured, his voice softening. He glanced at her, his eyes searching hers for a moment before he reached out and gently tucked a stray lock of her red hair behind her ear. "And that's everything." Ginny's heart skipped a beat at the tenderness in his voice. She had always known that Harry was capable of so much more than he believed. But moments like this, when he allowed himself to show her the quiet vulnerability that often lay hidden beneath his brave exterior, made her realize just how much he trusted her. "Harry," she said softly, her fingers lightly tracing the line of his jaw, "you don't have to carry everything by yourself. Not anymore. You never have to be alone again." Harry's eyes softened, and for a moment, he was speechless, just taking in the comfort of her presence. He leaned forward, resting his forehead gently against hers. The air between them was warm, filled with the silent understanding that had always existed between them. Ginny closed her eyes for a moment, enjoying the closeness, the stillness of the night. She pulled back just enough to look at him, her gaze full of affection. "I'm glad it's you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the crackling fire. Harry smiled, a genuine, soft smile that made her heart flutter. "Me too." The two of them sat in silence for a while, enjoying the simple pleasure of being together, of having time to relax without the weight of the world pressing down on them. The crackling of the fire, the soft rustling of the wind outside, and the warmth of each other's company was all they needed in that moment. Ginny rested her head on Harry's shoulder, her eyes closing as she listened to the steady rhythm of his breathing. She felt safe here, in his arms, in the quiet comfort of the Burrow, knowing that no matter what came next, they would face it together.